120 years ago, the world burned. Venlyra leads the charge alongside the Empire's greatest heroes to stop the darkness from consuming everything. The dark mantle rises, Prince Alaric stands his ground, but the Overlord's power is overwhelming, threatening to crush the last hope of humanity. Venlyra dons his mask, striking from the shadows while Kaelin the monk prepares a divine intervention to turn the tide of this nightmare. It's a desperate struggle. Alaric is battered and broken, but the will of the Emperor's herald keeps the flame of resistance alive. Venlyra makes his move, saving Alaric from a fatal blow. Even as the Overlord mocks their efforts, the heroes refuse to back down. Kaelin unleashes the power of light. Alaric draws the holy blade Escalon, shattering the dark mantle and finally ending the Age of Terror. Peace returns. Alaric is crowned king, while Zephyr, Elowen, and Kaelin return to their homes, leaving a legacy that will last for generations. But Venlyra's story isn't over. Bound by the curse of undeath, he awakens a century later as a hollow skeleton, a shadow of himself. A new era begins. In the heart of a silent forest, a young girl named Leah encounters a strange, sentient skeleton. The messenger has returned. The Dark Mantle's prophecy echoes through time. Choices will be made and despair will be tasted, but the skeleton messenger presses onward toward destiny. Deep in the woods, Venlyra, the skeleton messenger, encounters a lone child. Despite his terrifying appearance, the girl is fearless, sparking an unlikely connection. Haunted by the memory of her parents dying in a burning house, the girl seeks strength. Venlyra decides to take her under his wing. The training is brutal. Venlyra pushes the girl to her absolute limits, forging her into a weapon capable of surviving a decaying empire. 11 years pass in a flash. The small child is gone, replaced by a formidable warrior ready to face the world's darkness. Venlyra hands over a sacred blade and sends her on a mission to save the world. He watches as his disciple departs for the throne. Venlyra recalls the war 120 years ago. The Demon Lord's army was an endless sea of monsters devouring the Emperor's loyal knights. As the herald, Venlyra stood alone against the tide. He summoned his own legion of undead, unleashing a power that defied death itself. With a single strike of his massive blade, Venlyra shattered the earth, burying the demons beneath the very forest they stand in today. Back in the present, the girl returns. She's bloodied and exhausted, but she carries the triumphant spirit of a true champion. Venlyra's purple eye glows with ancient power. No matter how many years it takes, he will see this empire restored to the light. Imperial Knight Ishur Soma stands alone against a nightmare. A massive undead legion has risen, led by a purple titan that threatens to crush the empire's foundations. But Ishur Soma isn't just any soldier. He's an elite Imperial Knight, and he's ready to carve through this necromantic filth to find the one pulling the strings. The giant beast lunges, shattering the earth. Even against this overwhelming size, Ishur Soma's blade-eye style cuts deep, bringing the titan crashing to its knees. Suddenly, Venlyra strikes. The skeleton messenger engages the knight in a blur of steel and bone, proving his ancient power is far beyond any modern warrior. Venlyra is relentless. He pummels Ishur Soma with bone-shattering strikes, his purple eyes burning with the fury of 1,000 years as he dominates the battlefield. Ishur Soma is gasping for air, his armor broken. Venlyra closes the distance, grabbing the knight by the throat to end this pathetic display of imperial justice. But it's a trap. Ishur Soma flashes a bloodied grin as he activates a hidden magic field, pinning Venlyra down beneath a mountain of crushing spiritual pressure. As the undead minions dissolve into mist, the imperial knights prepare to finish the job. But Venlyra's soul won't be extinguished. The real reckoning is just beginning. Venlyra remembers a time before the rot set in. Now, the skeleton messenger walks into a northern tavern, his presence reeking of 1,000 years of slaughter. Pray the bird, but Venlyra doesn't flinch to challenge him. Moves violence. The brawl explodes. Venlyra's purple eyes flare with necromantic power as he stands over the first fool to challenge him. This isn't a fight, it's an execution. Moves violence like this isn't shadow fight. Venlyra dismantles the mob with bone-crushing efficiency, grabbing his enemies by the throat before they can even register his movement. A skilled swordsman attempts a desperate feint, but Venlyra sees right through it. He catches the blade barehanded, shattering the warrior's pride along with his weapon. The tavern falls silent as the last attacker hits the floor. Venlyra stands amidst the wreckage, a pale, vengeful spirit asking one simple question: who's next? Thor Vinland, the Northern Guildmaster, finally intervenes. He doesn't want a fight, he wants a miracle. The Empire is dying and only hatred keeps the survivors alive. Thor Vinland asks the question on everyone's mind: just who is this skeleton? Venlyra doesn't answer, he simply accepts the contract and heads into the unending snow. High in the frozen peaks, Sword Harrier and Thor Vinland spot an Imperial army camp. It's a total bloodbath. Paper slaughter, armored Venlyra knights armored like they're made of dives paper straight into the heart of the enemy. Paper, a massive explosion rocks the camp as the skeleton messenger reveals his true time to scream, terrifying form. It's a total bloodbath. Slaughter, armored Venlyra knights armored like they're made of dives paper. Paper, a massive explosion rocks the camp as the skeleton messenger reveals his true time to scream. Venlyra summons a swarm of vengeful spirits, turning the battlefield into a literal nightmare. The sheer weight of his hatred manifests as a purple tide of death. Even on horseback, the knights are helpless. Venlyra hijacks their momentum, delivering a brutal mid-air execution that leaves the Imperial forces in absolute shambles. Among the dying, a soldier clings to a handmade charm from his daughter. Venlyra offers no mercy, only a swift end to the man's hollow life of vengeance. As the camp burns, a lingering spirit warns Venlyra that only hopelessness awaits him at the end of his path. But the messenger has already chosen his fate. Meanwhile, a mysterious red-haired girl revels in the chaos. As the Emperor's decree arrives, she prepares her own monstrous army. The real war is just beginning. Deep within the Empire, a mysterious commander plots his next move. He sets his sights on Venlyra, the undead skeleton who has everyone on edge. To track this anomaly, the commander deploys Sword Harrier and Murin Sam, two elite quartz-class adventurers with enough power to handle a living corpse. The commander gambles everything on a gut feeling, while Venlyra attempts to blend in using a ridiculous paper bag to hide his skeletal face. Venlyra returns to a familiar tavern, a place once filled with the rowdy laughter and clashing blades of his former comrades. The tavern keeper recognizes the old spirit. She reveals a message left behind by Venlyra's disciple, a ghost from a life he thought was buried. Haunted by visions of war and ruin, Venlyra finds an old journal. He questions if his quest for vengeance is blinding him to the truth. He remembers the Ruby-class adventurers, the legends who once fought for a fairy tale that is now turned into a nightmare. Merging his past self with his new resolve, Venlyra casts aside the fog of rage. The skeleton messenger is back, and this time it's for a new beginning. Venlyra, the skeleton messenger, encounters two quartz-class adventurers. He holds the memories of the old empire close as he prepares to guide these newcomers. The world outside is a death trap. From massive beasts to savage goblins, the empire's decay has let monsters roam free and hungry. The adventurers prove their worth, cleaving through a massive cyclops. They think they're strong, but Venlyra knows what real power looks like. Enough talk, Venlyra unleashes a terrifying purple aura, resurrecting the fallen monsters as shadow thralls to begin a brutal lesson in survival. He remembers the Ruby-class legends and the mysterious man with the goatee who once vaporized entire armies. The standard for a hero has fallen too low. Venlyra issues a challenge. Come at me. He's not just a messenger anymore, he's a master hammer forging these kids into human weapons. 10 seconds, that's all the time they have before the shadow beast lunges. The adventurers can only run as the nightmare closes in. Standing atop the chaos, Venlyra laughs. This is play-based learning at its finest. Evolve right now or get crushed by the shadow of the past. But a new shadow looms. A red-haired giant steps onto the stage, and the hunt for the decaying throne just got a lot more complicated. Venlyra unleashes a monstrous shadow beast to cover the escape. But a massive red-haired warrior named Flay the Warp Knight cuts through the chaos with terrifying ease. Standing atop his summon, Venlyra watches as Flay launches a relentless assault. She uses the whirling helix style, moving with a speed that defies her massive size. Spine Dragonbreaker moving with a lance speed, but size. The Wark Knight isn't just a brute. She's a high-tier combatant who lives for the thrill of a deadly challenge. Flay's joints contort like a monster's as she trades blows with Venlyra, landing a heavy strike that sends the skeleton messenger reeling. As the battle rages, the situation turns dire. An entire legion of armored knights surrounds Venlyra and his allies, turning a duel into a full-scale war. Flay cackles with glee, clashing her mad hound guillotine against Venlyra's mountain torque in a massive explosion of mana that levels the surrounding forest. With the dust settling, Flay offers a dark ultimatum, but Venlyra remains unfazed. The northern tribes are watching, and the real reckoning is only just beginning. Flay cackles as she shrugs off her wounds, abandoning the battlefield and leaving Venlyra to face the consequences of their explosive clash alone. Ambushed by the Red Ram tribe, Venlyra tries to negotiate, but the fierce northern archers and spearmen only see intruders to be hunted. Dragged in chains to a snowy village, Venlyra and his companions are thrown into a cold cell to await the chieftain's brutal judgment. Brought before the massive Vidin the Red, Venlyra's claim of being a fellow Nordling triggers the chieftain's explosive, murderous rage. Vidin charges with dual axes, but Venlyra shatters his chains and dances through the carnage with impossible, skeletal speed. Manifesting a blade of purple mana, Venlyra advances like death itself, slipping past Vidin's guard to deliver a series of precise strikes. The battle ends instantly as Vidin collapses, his body frozen by Venlyra's overwhelming mastery of ancient acupoint suppression. With the chieftain humbled, the truth finally comes to light, revealing Venlyra's ally as the legendary warrior Sword Hawker Harrier. Village reach the children through the Harrier snow, befriending the estate, found true by the ever-Muran faithful happiness in those steward, simple, fleeting days. As memories of the past begin to resurface. The North is a land of nightmares, where Nordlings battle ferocious dragons and clash with Imperial knights in a never-ending cycle of blood and steel. Young Sword grew up under the watchful eye of his mother, inseparable chieftain Hawker Reman Russ' daughter, found true by the Evermuran. They were inseparable, leading the village children through the snow. Despite the heavy burden of his lineage, Sword found true happiness in those simple, fleeting days. In the present, Sword reflects on those golden years, haunted by the crushing doubt of whether he could ever truly become the leader his tribe deserved. His training was absolute hell. Under the terrifying Vidin the Red, Sword was pushed to his physical breaking point, dragging massive boulders until his muscles screamed. It wasn't just strength. Sword mastered ancient strategy and devoured thousands of texts, pushing his mind until his body literally began to fall apart from exhaustion. But the dream was destined to shatter. A year into his apprenticeship, the unthinkable happened. The news broke that Sword had supposedly abandoned his post and fled. Dreamed of greatness demands he remember his tribe. Inspired by his mother, Sword's despair is chieftain Absolute Hawker. Years of hellish crushed by the weight of his training left him with a perceived worthlessness, shattered spirit, and a broken blade. Sword is a shell of his former self. He can only offer a bitter. He tracks the fallen warrior to a tavern, desperate to bring him back. Sword is a shell of his former self, failures in drink. Sam, when Muran braves a lethal, finally blizzard to find him, confronts him. He can only offer a bitter. She tracks the fallen warrior to a tavern. Tracks the fallen warrior to a tavern. Muran snaps. She demands he remember his tribe, but Sword's despair is absolute. He screams in agony, crushed by the weight of his own perceived worthlessness. Haunted by expectations, Sword feels the dark hands of his past dragging him into the abyss. To him, the hope of his people is a suffocating cage. A new mission from Spireberg forces Sword to take up his shield. Muran watches with a hopeful smile, praying the great leader she knew is still alive. Enter Venlyra. The skeleton messenger doesn't care about sad backstories. He interrupts Sword's brooding with a massive, armored fist straight to the face. Hype. Venlyra is taking this dullard as a disciple. With a terrifying wink and a flurry of nonchalant strikes, the skeleton messenger begins Sword's true hellish training. Muran laughs at the chaos. The Empire is decaying, but with Venlyra leading the way, Sword might finally find the spark he thought was extinguished.